Alright everyone, I have a fiber piece in my hands. I have one more spare piece somewhere here. There it is. Actually, these were supposed to be laser cannon fibers, but they're not. I have a candle in front of me. I bent one already, and it lights up fairly well here. If I were to eliminate light flow, maybe we can see it. No, we're probably not going to. Yeah, you can see it lighting. And it's got, if I don't drop everything. Isn't it nice how you drop everything on camera? Got it. It's got a good 90-degree bend in it. You can see it. And this is what you do. And it bends pretty quick. First off, to fire polish an end, you just hold it. And you don't hold it real close to the candle. There, that end is fire polished. It's nice and clean. It's flared a little bit. It won't go back. It will stop at a hole to bend it. And you don't have to be too close to the candle. That's it. I heated it up and I got a 90-degree bend in it right there. Okay? Does it still transmit light? You betcha. So what I need to do now is take a piece of fiber. And I know I'm wasting fibers here. But you don't learn things unless you do. I'm going to fire polish one end, so I got a good nub on it. There. You don't want it to burn, because if you do it too much, the end doesn't look any good. And I did it too much, it doesn't look any good. What I need to do now is I need to get it to bend a certain way. So I need to mark on the fiber where I want it to bend. And what I'm going to do, actually, I bet I can do it here. Nah, it's not precise enough, and I can feel the plastic of the model heating up. I want it to bend. Right there. Now my mark survived. Pulling it through the model. I can see my mark. My mark is right where my fingernail is. And I'm going to take and put it over the heat. And hopefully I can get it to bend really close to my mark, and it did. That's about the bend I need. And I'm going to try putting it back in the model and seeing if that will work. If I can get that bend through there, I can. And now let's look at the inside of this, down in the light. We can see the fibers bent where I need it to be bent to get it where I need it to be. It's off a little bit, not by much. And is it still transmitting light? It looks to be still transmitting light. So, what I'm going to do next is cut the end of this fiber a little bit. That's something I cannot do with the other ones because the ends are already done. Refire polish it a teeny bit. I call that fire polishing because that's what you would do with a glass rod. You get the end all nice and smoothed out. Pull it through, put it in. Now let's see how that looks. Let me zoom it a little bit and move my candle so I'm not burning myself as I do this. That's probably enough right there. You can see it's working. It's transmitting that light just like we would want it to. Okay? It's lit up very nicely. So this is going to work for me. I can take some heat, bend the fibers. I can actually mark the fibers where I want them bent. And if I'm careful enough, they'll bend there. So now I'm going to do it with the two fibers for the ion engines. Because once they're bent and I notch the back of this thing, I can actually put the cockpit in. So let me put one in. And I'm going to mark it. where I want it bent. And this one's got to bend where I want it or I'm in trouble. Okay, and that means I put the heat on it right where I want it to go. There we go. Now once it cools off, that should be good. That bent right where I wanted it to. Let's put it in and see if everything's good. Did I bend it too much to get it in there? Nope. It bent to run right along the edge like I wanted it to. See if it's still transmitting light. Or did I bend it too much? It's still transmitting light. There we go. If I get the light in the right source, let me pull this up out of there. Yeah, you can see it still transmits light. There. I get the light on the right source, it's transmitting light just fine. So I'm going to have to get this LED on there just right. But that's in there. It's in there the way I want it. So now I got to get the other one bent. Okay, I got it marked. Pulling it through. And I'm going to tell you, getting these to bend where you want them is kind of tricky, because the heat is applied over a wide area. And when I'm talking, that one bent exactly where I wanted it to. A little bit of practice and I'm getting better. Oh yeah, and it bent exactly where I wanted it to. Now let's make sure it's still transmitting light, because if it's not, I'm going to have to redo it, the whole thing. It's still transmitting light, just fine. Alrighty, so I got my two fibers bent. I can glue them in place now. And I need to cut access points for them. Actually, no, I do. I need to, I can blow the candle out now, I'm done with it for a bit. I need to cut access points for them in the cockpit backing, because it's not going to fit back there with those. I don't think it might. If it does, I can glue that down, because that's what's been holding me back. No, it don't fit in there with those there. I'm going to have to cut notches for them, and I can see where I'm going to have to cut notches. Yeah, I'm going to have to cut notches in this plate back here so those fibers fit. But once I get those notches cut, I can glue that in. That is a major step, by the way, because I've got the LEDs routed for lighting up the cockpit now. And then it's just LEDs for the laser cannons and the one yellow light on the cockpit. So these two fibers, one's yellow, one's red. And we'll be good to go on that. Alright, I'm going to get working. I'll show you the end result. Alright everybody, I'm working on getting the cockpit buttoned up. I've got where the fibers are in there and the cockpit sitting down where it belongs. The two fibers for the lights in the back are in place, and they do catch light and work. I don't know if you can see that on camera. If I were to zoom the camera more, you will be able to see it and move the cockpit back a little bit. So it's sitting there. Here's one of the fibers. Put it in light. I can see it lighting up back there. I don't know if you guys can. Here, let's put this. Yeah, you can see it lighting up back there. You can see it coming on and off as I move the fiber through the light. So I haven't overextended the fiber. And the fiber on the bottom is the same way. If I put it in the light, you can see, oh, let's get him where you can see that. If the fiber gets in the light, yeah, you can see the fiber right here. It's lighting that one up. So the fibers are working. They're doing their job. That's in place. Next thing I gotta do is get the LEDs in these arms and the wires run. Once I get the wires run, this part can be glued in, okay? And once that part's glued in, it's only a matter of minutes before I can glue the top part down. The only other thing I gotta do is I gotta get two LEDs down here in light can, nope, we're off camera. I gotta get two LEDs in the bottom down here in light cans. What I mean by light cans is stuff like this, and I may not be able to do that. I may have to, yeah, that's gonna barely fit in there. This is the exact same size as a 3mm LED. Let's see if I can find the orange LED. I do not find the orange. Where'd I put it? It's over here. Here's the orange LED. This it is the exact same size as that orange LED. That may not, I may not get that back out of there because it's a pretty tight fit. Okay, that's the exact same size as that 3mm orange. And I don't think that's going to fit in there. I think that's going to be too tight. Yeah, way too tight. So I'm going to have to come up with some other way of getting this in there. I'm going to have to sand this LED down because the LED will fit. I got to try it with the bottom. I'm going to clip the bottom off the sprue and do a test fit real quick. If I don't do a 5mm LED, my 3mm orange ones are nowhere near as bright. So I need to do the 5mm if at all possible. I also haven't figured out how I'm going to support this thing yet. And that bugs me a tiny bit. In other words, I don't have the stand worked out completely yet. Unlike the Raider is all pretty much done. I got the base figured out, the power supply, everything. Okay? But I don't have the TIE Fighter completely figured. That's good enough for what I'm trying to do. So there is some room in there. I can get that 3mm, that 5mm in there. The stand's going to go through this bottom part right here. It's going to go through there. I'm trying to figure out if I can put a power jack in there. There may not be room for a power jack, which means I may have to take a piece of brass rod, embed it in there, flatten the rod out on the ends by cutting it a little bit and bending it, and then epoxying it to this bottom support. So that may have to go that way. All the wiring is going to be down here. There's not a lot of room in this little thing. That's the bad part. This one's far more challenging than that Raider. Getting all these LEDs wired in. Now the yellow LED, this one is only for this one little tiny fiber right here. Okay? We have this tiny fiber right here, and that's for this little yellow LED. That can button up in there almost anywhere. It'll be simple to do. What I could do is epoxy resin them in, and epoxy resin the fibers to the LEDs. I can cut the tops off the LEDs and make them flat, which I probably will do anyhow. And then just epoxy resin the fibers to the LEDs, and then get the black spray paint and spray paint everything black. Because I'm going to end up epoxying the two side LEDs in. Let me get the LEDs fit in here so that I can button this thing up. Okay? And I'll be happy when it's buttoned up. I can't tell you guys that, how much happiness will be when this thing is glued together. Okay? I'll be back in a little bit. Let me find the remote.